Okay, it's high time to actually start separating the worms in this worm composter from the actual compost itself, and that's what we're going to do now in this video today. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tip this out. Sorry wormies, you're not going to like this. Oh, look at them wormies. There's a ton of worms. They're already starting to go in. Now the best idea is always, of course, use what you got, and the easiest way to actually get the worms out of here is by tilting it slightly forward like this and then just letting it kind of fall through this mesh here. And a lot of the worms get stuck on the mesh, and then all I gotta do is shake them off into this separate pile here. And if any kind of fall on top of this pile, I can just take them out. Alright, so we'll take a look. There's a few worms still in here, but most of them, yeah, the majority is actually in there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pile and put it back into the wormery, and they're just going to have to make do for a day or two until this has enough bacteria in it for them to be able to eat it. Okay, that's that. Stick that on there and finished. 2 days, I'll give them some food. Now, last but not least, I'm going to take out the worms with a finer sieve. Now, I've tried it already. This sieve is a little bit too fine because this is still a bit moist, so that's not going to work. So I'm going to have to use something that is a little bit slower but works really well. If you want to separate your compost from worms, this is actually the most recommended method. But it is good to take them out first with the sieve. So what you can do is just flatten it out a bit, and then the worms will go down, and then you can just take off, skim off a bit at the top, and then every maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes come along and do that. And eventually you keep piling it up, and eventually you've separated out most of the worms from the actual compost, because they don't like being up at the top, especially when the sun is shining on it, and that's all you got to do. Right, oh yeah, I wanted to show you these guys. This here, this is the rare Kerala squash. It hardly exists anymore. I got it from Binu, and this is what it looks like now grown. So we're going to get plenty of seeds off that. So using this method takes about 20-30 minutes, depending on how hot the sun is. So literally there's not a single worm in there now. That's really good. Now what commercial worm composters do, they have usually a barrel made out of mesh, and it rotates and it's at a slight angle, and so all the worms get kind of caught up in the mesh, and all the compost goes either through, and most of the worms kind of bounce off the mesh itself and start ending up in the pile at the bottom. Some of the worms will probably fall out at a certain point. These can be also taken away, but that's how commercial people do their wormeries. But of course we have only small scale stuff, so these are kind of just methods on how to separate them properly as well. And you could apply it to bigger scales, but it just takes too long maybe. Now one thing that I need to mention, I'm just waiting for these worms to go down. When you're doing natural farming, organic farming as it used to be known, you need to make sure that you're only using a certain amount for your worm compost. So you're only making a certain amount of worm compost is what I'm trying to say. You're not going to, you're going to use it for making compost teas, you're going to maybe make a terra preta worm composter, but generally speaking it's better to use the organic matter that you're getting from your garden as a mulch to protect the actual soil. Because if you take that material out of the cycle and you make large scale worm composters, the entire life in the soil doesn't benefit from that process, because you skipped ahead 3 or 4 processes by putting it through a wormery, and so you're going to lose out on a lot of things like, you know, fungi won't grow as much, you won't have the mulch to protect the soil in the first place, soil structure will be lacking, and you're just constantly digging in this worm compost. And in my opinion, you're losing out on a couple of stages that are really important to making good organic soil that actually retains nutrients, water. It allows for air passages, and it also allows for all this healthy life that protects your plants from diseases as well. So I just want to make that note as well, because worm compost is great, but it needs to be used in the right way. Okay, and that's it. That is an entire bag of worm compost, nicely separated. I could do some more here, but I think I'll call it a day now. I want to give them a bit of bedding as well, and that'll do fine now for that. Now, it's 3 weeks later. Let's see if I'm in the shot there, because I want to show you this other wormery that I have. This is actually a way easier way to go about separating worms from compost than what you saw in the little barrel example. I showed you that because most people have that kind of size containers, and it's not that much work because you don't have that much to deal with. And this is basically just 2 corrugated pieces of iron set on top with a few holes drilled in it, set on top of a metal table, and that's sitting in 4 bowls of water. Each leg is sitting in bowls of water so the ants don't eat it. This is only a problem in the tropics. You won't have that probably in the West. You probably have ants, but they're not such a bad thing. Like, they literally will eat all the worms basically. And ants are a great thing. They have a really important role to play in nature. So don't go exterminating them just because you might find them. They're actually really, really handy. Ah, it's a beautiful butterfly. I'll show it to you now in a second at the end of the video if he's still there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I got a ton of this Ayurvedic kind of byproduct. All the dry herbs, they basically put it into a digester type thing, the university, Ayurvedic university, and the college. And what they did is, it's an anaerobic style setup, so this is like full of bacteria, and of course worms eat mainly bacteria. That's why they go through all that organic matter. And basically I'm going to put it on 1/3 of each tier, and within 2-3 days the worms are all going to go in there. And because I let them starve for 3 weeks, I've gone through everything, turned it into beautiful worm compost, so I can take that away really easily, feed them more stuff, and that's basically all there is really to it. So that concludes this video. If you have any questions, then ask away. Otherwise, please like up the video, share it with your friends. And I'm starting to say this now more because I think you kind of gotta just remind people a little bit. If you wish to do so, then please help me out with that. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one as well. Now I gotta go and feed these babies before they starve. Where are you going? No, I just promised them. I promised them to show you off, man. You'll be famous. Okay, never mind. This is quite nice actually. Very brown, very thick, winged. I haven't seen one like that before around here. So yeah. So that's it. Concludes the video. Is there anything else I need to say? That's it. Yeah. Thanks for watching.